Today, we're going to talk about the classic guitar tones of The Who. Pete Townshend is arguably one of the greatest guitar players of all time. He certainly had a very particular type of sound, and The Who burst onto the market in the 60s, becoming one of the most beloved British invasion bands. Pete Townshend has a very distinctive guitar playing style. He's very aggressive. He uses heavy strings. He uses these really clean amp tones. If you listen to a lot of those records from the early 60s, very, very clean sounding amps. And Rickenbacker guitars, Fender guitars. Throughout the years, his equipment and gear changed, obviously. For many of us, we like to change our gear as we grow as well. He used Hiwatt amps, which are really known for their clarity and their full range. And you can get them very loud and very clean. He, in '63, bought his first Fender Pro amp. He ended up using that with the Bassman, and then he eventually gravitated towards the Fender Vibro-King amp using an OD1. And I actually have an OD2 today that I will plug in, and we'll see what that sounds like. There was a period in 1966 and 67 where Pete ended up using a Grampian 636 Reverb spring reverb tank unit as a saturation tool. And what he ended up doing was cutting the reverb all the way back and then turning the preamp up, pushing that preamp into a regular amp. It ends up giving you a very particular color to your guitar. It acts almost like a transparent overdrive, but it doesn't feel the same. It's unlike anything I've ever heard or played. The units are very hard to find, very sought after, and very expensive if you are able to find them. Enter Aclam Guitars. Aclam is a company out of Spain, and I have several of their pedals. They're incredible. In fact, they're some of my favorite pedals that I own. They're not as popular here in the US, and I haven't seen a whole lot of guys with the pedals. I haven't seen anyone using them live. The first one I ended up purchasing was the Dr. Robert. It is the absolute best Vox amp in a box that I have heard ever. And I've heard a lot of different pedals that try to emulate Vox amps. It has the most amazing feel to it of any Vox pedal I have ever played. And I have a video coming where I'm going to show that pedal off. But after I got that pedal and loved it so much, I started looking at several of Aclam's other offerings. And one that really caught my eye was the Windmiller. And the Windmiller pedal is the Grampian 636 recreated and put into pedal form. They did improve a few things. The original Grampians are very, very noisy, as most of those old reverb tanks actually were. So they were able to dial the noise out of it. It is unlike any other pedal that I have seen or owned, and that's what got me very curious about the design of the pedal and the reason that I ended up shelling out the money for it. All right, let's head over to the other side of the studio because I know you're dying to hear what it sounds like. So we're looking at the Windmiller, very simplistic pedal. You've got the gain, you've got the overload lamp, which is super cool. Then you've got the low cut and high cut EQ. All the way counterclockwise, the EQ cuts are off, and then as you just increase the knobs clockwise, it rolls the EQ cut onto the signal. Obviously, you've got the on-off switch. He loved using clean amps, so we're going to start off with a deluxe reverb today. I'm going to be using a couple of different guitars. We're going to start with a Les Paul, Gibson Les Paul, playing some lead licks. So here is the guitar clean. lot of times he would end up using, later in his career, he would use the OD1. I've got an OD2 here because a lot of people with this pedal claim that they end up using this right in front of the amp, just as he would have done, but that they enjoy putting some sort of overdrive pedal in front of it. We'll just go for the classic OD3 in this case. I thought I had an OD2, but it's an OD3. So let's check it out. Clean. Let's try a different guitar. All right, so we've got a Fender Telecaster, a much different sounding guitar. Let's see what it sounds like. Little Who lick. It's definitely crunchier sounding just with the Windmiller alone. Without, with, increase. suspect his earliest settings would have been something similar to this. He would cut the lows out some. Not too dirty. Very similar. So that's it, the Windmiller preamp pedal. Very, very cool. Unlike anything that I have sitting here on the studio shelf. I've used it on several projects already. I plan on using it a lot more. It will never leave my possession. It may end up on my live pedal board as well. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Can't wait to see you next week.